Kia ora, my name's Corrina Gage, and I've competed internationally in a number of different water sports for many years now. Waka in particular has been great for me because it offers the option of individual or team participation at an internationally competitive level, as well as the option of sprint racing or big ocean racing. But it doesn't have to be about competition. It's also the best sport I've ever participated in, which is appropriate for all ages and all abilities. We will be focusing on W6 paddling and looking at 1. Some of the basics to help novice paddlers become more confident at paddling in sprint races, 2. Some tips for coaches, and also 3. Some critical safety considerations. By no means is this intended as a definitive guide, and other experienced paddlers will have ideas to add to these basics. This DVD is not intended to take experienced paddlers to an elite level. Also, keep in mind that there is no right way to paddle. There are too many variables. New paddles continually being developed, new waka shapes, the difference in weight between crews, the difference in strength between crews. Key to your crew doing as well as they can is testing different things. People in different seats, different stroke rates, emphasis on different parts of the stroke. Then deciding on one way to do each aspect of the stroke. The setup, the entry and catch, powering the stroke, the exit and the return. When I refer to different aspects of paddling and racing, you'll see it all come together in footage of a crew which I was in at World Champs. I'm paddling with Megan Reid at seat 2, Anita Taggart at seat 3, Bernie Murch at seat 4, Renee McDonald at seat 5, and Napoya Brightwell steering. All outstanding paddlers in their own right, and an excellent example of individually strong paddlers still making the effort to work together as one cohesive unit and not trying to pull the waka by themselves. Some critical factors in winning a race happen before you even get to the start line, such as good nutrition, general fitness, and everyone committed in their training towards the same goals. Once you're on the water, getting the crew to the start line without anyone feeling stressed is key. You'll be setting yourselves up for a good start if your crew knows the colour of the flag in your lane before you get out on the water, has thought about communication cues which will be used to get the crew to the start line, particularly in approaching the lane and moving the waka from the false start line to the start line, and that they are familiar with the race rules, particularly the steerer. For example, knowing that your waka must remain inside the small buoys of your lane throughout the entire length of the course. For more information on the race rules, check out this website, www.wakaama.co.nz. It can be attention to seemingly minor details, such as communications from the false start line to the start line, which can be the winning point of difference between your crew and other crews. The start is one of the most important components of any race. Waka sprints are no different. Let's take a look at one of Team Aotearoa's starts. Here you can see Team Aotearoa is the closest crew in lane 1. As the red flag goes down and the green flag goes up, what do you notice? Team Aotearoa is the closest crew up on the start line, and each crew member is extended, paddles ready to give it as much as they've got for that first stroke. If we take it back to look at their approach to the start line, what action do you spot within the crew? Seats 1 and 2 are paddling the crew up to the start line. It doesn't have to be seats 1 and 2, but you need to have planned who it will be. Seat 6, the steerer, is keeping the waka back from the start line, assessing the conditions and adjusting her approach according to how the winds and currents may be pushing the waka. If you don't put time into planning how the crew gets to the start line, you risk feeling stressed when the green flag goes up, and it's difficult to recover once any one person is flustered. These are just a few of the practical steps your crew can take to have the best start possible. For more on how your crew can be prepared for the start line, check out the points listed under the Start section of the written instruction guide. There are no magic cues or foolproof communication system, but here are some questions to consider that are worth having a practiced communication process for. Who is responsible for taking the waka from the false start line to the start line? For instance, is it only seats 5 and 6, or is it the whole crew? You need to have communication cues for both in case there is a strong headwind or strong wind pushing you from behind. Who is responsible for maintaining the angle that the steerer wants to start on? If the steerer wants the nose to be pulled left, either seats 1 or 2 would do that, depending on which person is starting on the left. Who is responsible for deciding where to stop at the start line, or ensuring that the waka does not cross the start line before the green flag is raised? Is seat 1 calling the distance remaining to the start line, or will they just say, slow, slow, hold? Once the waka is in position at the start line, who holds the waka? Is it only seats 5 and 6, or is it the whole crew? Whether you will start with your blades in the water or above the water. Who is calling the start? Having a command for each of these things will ensure that your crew is mentally prepared and capable of adapting race strategy to the conditions. First things first, in regards to the parts of your paddle, this is the T-grip, the shaft here, the blade, and where the blade meets the shaft is referred to as either the shoulders or the neck of the paddle. Note that the blade is angled forward. When I refer to the power face, I'm talking about the side of the paddle which is pulling the water. So if I was doing a forward stroke, this would be the power face. If I was reversing the waka, this would be the power face. To hold the paddle, place your hand over the top of the T-grip, placing your other hand on the shaft, about 1 fist grip up from the shoulders of the blade. Place the paddle in the water perpendicular to the hull, holding the paddle in place to slow or stop the canoe. Brace the shaft against the torso rather than relying on arm strength. Response to a hold call must be immediate, as hold is most often called to avoid running into something. To reverse, put the paddle in the water perpendicular to the back of your seat and push the paddle forward, preferably keeping in time as a crew. Your leading leg, which is on the side you're paddling on, should be extended but not straight and firmly planted. This leg will be used to add leverage to the stroke. Your other leg will be bent under the seat with your heel raised and your big toe firmly planted. When you switch the paddle at a hup and change sides, you must also switch the leg which is forward, sliding your feet rather than lifting them off the hull and making abrupt movements. There are distinctive parts to a stroke: the setup, entry and catch, power, exit and return. How each distinctive part is done will differ between coaches, but whichever way they are done, there should be only one way. Ideally, every aspect of the stroke should be done in the same way and at the same time by each paddler. Put the paddle in ahead of you, 90 degrees to the side of the waka, and maintain that perpendicular blade to the waka throughout the entire stroke for optimal efficiency. If anyone has difficulty maintaining a perpendicular blade to the waka, I suggest checking the way in which they are holding the T-grip. Moving your thumb from under the T-grip to the end of the T-grip can change the angle of the blade. For novices, it might be useful to put a visual marker on the waka for seat 1 only to indicate where you want entry to be. Everyone else needs to be entering and exiting their paddle at the same time as number 1. You want the stroke to be parallel to the keel line, which is the line running straight through the middle of the length of the waka. This may be particularly relevant to seats 1 and 6, as the waka may be starting to curve at their seats.